Am I the a-hole for insinuating my sister wanted to take a selfie with my boyfriend? Plus update. Original post. I, 24 female, have family visiting from America for about a week, and my sister, 26 female, is coming with them. She called me a few days before her flight to inform me that she only wanted my fiancé, 25 male, to pick her up from the airport. She's the last of the family to arrive, but she said that she did not want me, my dad, or my mother to be at the airport. She only wanted my fiancé there. My sister and my fiancé have known each other, through me, since I started my relationship with my fiancé. While she has known him since our relationship started, she has not been very warm to him. Her behavior is often aggressive and abrasive. She often makes comments about him being too tall or too dumb. She goes so far as to call him the village idiot or dum-dum, but he had thick skin, so he just moved on. Long story short, me and my fiancé were under the impression that my sister did not like him very much. So imagine my shock when she suddenly wanted alone time with him. Trying to figure out a reason, I very absent-mindedly started throwing out possible reasons to her as to why she would want my fiancé there with no one else. I said things like to find him in a crowd, and so he can carry all your things, and jokingly said to take a selfie with him and send to your boyfriend, and as soon as I said a selfie joke, she blows up. She calls me a narcissist and an a-hole, and hangs up the phone on me like it's the most distasteful jokes she's heard from my mouth. I'd also like to clarify, my sister habitually calls me a fat witch who is dating up. Fiancé says that my joke might have been too harsh, and I'm now wondering if it was an a-hole thing to say. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Your sister wants only your fiancé to pick her up? Genuinely, I don't understand either. She's into your fiancé. I don't buy all her insults about him. Sounds to me like she's using insults to hide her attraction to him from all of you. Her insults are her cover. So maybe she's hoping to try something on when he collects her at the airport? The example you gave might just have been a coincidence. She might have blown up at whatever it was you were going to say next. It's beyond weird to ask your sibling to send their significant other to collect them from the airport. Not the a-hole. Something is off with your sister. Tell her your fiancé is not available. Very off. So weird. Like the plot of a creepy movie. Now, I am wondering if she wanted to be alone with him so that she can claim he being inappropriate with her or something. My thought exactly. Maybe she's hoping to get the engagement broken off because she only has a boyfriend. Not the a-hole. I think you nailed it with that comment. Why else would she be so defensive? Yes. With the other comments, I get the vibe Sister Never group has the bully them to show them you like them schoolyard face. And now for the update. Yeah, so anyone who insinuated that my sister was jealous or trying to steal my life/fiancé was basically right. Throughout most of the trip, she was acting very weirdly aggressive toward me. She would find very small things and very small details to nitpick about. She seemed like she wanted to be my big sister in all aspects of my life. At one point, she stomped into my work and attempted to yell at me. And at another, she made a big show of trying to yell at me when I invited my family to meet some of me and my fiancé's close friends. Anyway, everything essentially climaxed midway through the trip when I had invited over my fiancé's best friend for dinner. My fiancé's best friend is very close to us as a couple, and we have a lot of inside jokes. My fiancé's best friend made a joke about how he likes me fine, but my fiancé will always be his first pick, which was funny at the time, until my sister very loudly said, "Yeah, the world doesn't revolve around you. Stop being so arrogant," referring to me. To which we all stared at her awkwardly in confusion because the outburst came out of nowhere. Once my fiancé's best friend left, I pulled my sister to the side with my family and asked her what had gotten into her. She started by yelling at me about how she thought I was a terrible person and how I was mistreating everyone in my life. Then she evolved into how she has wrapped her identity into being my big sister. And when I don't listen to her, then she feels like she can't control or change me, and she's worried I will be a terrible person. Then it evolved into how she was infuriated because I was living a wonderful life overseas and never experienced consequences for being a bratty little sister from ages 0 to 15. Then it was finally revealed that her life back home is a bit crappy. Essentially, she had gotten a couple of customer complaints and coworker complaints which were weighing on her. On top of that, her boyfriend of 11 years doesn't want to marry her and won't even get her a promise ring or compromise ring. In summary, she was unhappy with her job, unhappy with where she lived, unhappy with her lack of friends, and unhappy with the fact that her long-term boyfriend doesn't want to marry. So yeah, it essentially unraveled into a revelation of jealousy and unhappiness in her own life. Something of which, unfortunately, I can do nothing about. I gave her advice here and there, but her life is her own decision. She's flying home now and I'm just worried about her. A compromise ring is one of the saddest things I've ever heard. A promise ring at their ages is silly. I thought that concept was romantic when I was a teen, but looking back, I don't think it's so good then either. We shouldn't be teaching kids they need to look for marriage in years they should be building themselves. I feel bad that everything in the sister's life seems to be falling apart, but the way she's dealing with it is so pathetic. It sounds like most of sister's problems are of her own making. She seems like she might treat other people besides OP badly, hence the work warnings. Therapy might help with that if she was willing to put in the work. She could dump her boyfriend and find someone who does want to marry her. But instead of doing something about her problems, she's just trying to make other people's lives miserable too. If OP's sister is anything like mine, she will only go to therapy to confirm everyone else is the problem, then stop after a session or two because it's not happening. What did it for me is OP's sister claiming brattiness from ages 0 to 15. My sister did the exact same thing. Apparently, I cried a lot as a baby because I was already a spoiled brat, and everything thereafter, like having difficulties in school or taking a gap year to work and save money after high school, was due to my brattiness. Ah yes, the old I'm getting complaints about my behavior at work and my relationship isn't going how I would hope, so I'll turn the dial up on being utterly awful to the people who do still care about me trick. Totally healthy and normal. It's really sad that even after all that, OP clearly feels she should be helping her sister. None of the things described, while sad for her, even begin to be excuses for this sort of behavior. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for ruining my brother's wedding cake? Plus update. Just to be clear, I didn't actually do anything to the cake. But I'll just start from the beginning, I guess. Growing up, my brother and I would play pranks on each other. I say each other, but he would just prank me relentlessly. Any of you who are younger siblings will know that there will be that one particular moment that often comes up even as you get older that, hey, remember when? Story. They'll retell to cackle at something devilish they did to you as a child. Our story was about a jar of cookies. Grandpa was an amazing baker and he made me a batch of cookies for my birthday, 9th birthday I believe, which he'd seal in an airtight glass box for me. I don't know how or when, but my brother got hold of this box and proceeded to, well, fart in it, then sealed it back up. On my birthday, he handed me the cookie box and said, "Grandpa put some extra stank into this batch." I didn't know what he meant in the moment. I was just too excited to try what looked like delicious cookies. I opened the glass lid and got blasted in the face by the stench of stale ass, then immediately threw up in the jar, all over the cookies. A tale my brother has told repeatedly to his delight since. Fast forward to now, my brother's wedding day. This wasn't a thought-out plan. I hadn't been scheming over it. It was just spur of the moment. My brother had retold the story yet again at his bachelor party 3 days prior to embarrass me, and I guess the story was just fresh in my mind. Ceremony is over, all went well, and on to the reception. They're posing for photos before cutting the cake, and I don't know why it came to me, but I just leaned over to my brother as his wife was about to take a bite and said, "I put some extra stank into the cake." I thought he'd laugh. He did not. With the reflexes of a mother leaping across to rescue her newborn from something dangerous, he slapped the cake out of her hands. There were some gasps, some laughs. No one really knew what was going on, me included. He whispered in her ear. She looked me in the eyes for a good 5 to 10 seconds, then just started to cry. She runs off. Everyone is confused. Then my brother confronts me. He thought I did defecate in the cake as revenge for the cookies. I told him I didn't, and it was just a dumb joke. But he was too mad to listen. She told her bridesmaids I did a number 2 in the cake. Sure enough, soon everyone thinks I did it in the cake. I was too embarrassed to protest, so I just went home. It's been a week and I've not spoken to them, nor anyone else from the wedding barring my wife, and I keep feeling guilty even though I didn't actually do anything. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. These people are being really harsh. If he just farted in your biscuits, why did he make the leap to think you did a whole dump in the cake? He overreacted. Probably because he made fun of Opie about the same prank for years and years on end, and he knew something was coming for him. Because that's what the brother would have done if he had been on the receiving end of that prank and the mockery all those years. Just a horrible person with zero empathy who wants to dish it but can't take it. Not the a-hole. Your brother and his new wife are really dumb if they think the baker would leave the cake mix or icing unattended for the groom's brother to take a dump in it and then serve that to guests. Most wedding cakes come assembled already, not baked on the premises. When would you have the opportunity to take a dump in a cake? And how would none of the bakers nor the venue servers not realize the cake smells like excrement? They overreacted big time and clearly think very lowly of you if they think you'd even do something like that. Your brother is an a-hole and I'm glad his wedding cake moment was disrupted. His guilt in thinking of what he is capable of is why he even thought this was a real possibility. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Not you, Opie, but him. Thank you for pointing this out. I couldn't figure out when Opie had access to the cake to even do anything to it. Edit/update. I'd have liked to have responded individually, but this received a bit more attention than expected. Thank you for all the responses. Of all kinds. The only person I could really discuss this with so far was my wife, who of course will always be on my side. I couldn't tell friends in case they jumped to the same irrational outcome as my brother, so I don't really know if I was the a-hole or not. As relieved as I am that the majority here agree I wasn't in the wrong, I do still take on board the criticism from the other side. It was probably a very poorly timed moment to make that joke, but like I said, I didn't scheme away at doing this. It was just impulsive. However, I have to take ownership of my actions nonetheless. A few of you have said you'd be interested in an update. I'm unsure on the sub's rules regarding this, but I am going to try and speak with my brother tomorrow after work, so I will post something if allowed once we have spoken and have, hopefully, smoothed things out. Now for the full update. I don't know if these are allowed, but people expressed interest, so if it's against the rules, just remove it. A quick summary for anyone reading but unfamiliar with my first post. I made a poorly timed joke during my brother's wedding reception as a spin-off a practical joke he played on me. No one was amused, and I was accused of doing something disgusting. Most people here agreed he overreacted and I wasn't the a-hole, but some thought I should apologize anyway, which I took on board, so reached out to my brother after a week of total silence. I'd like to say it went well. It did not. I texted my brother to come to my house after work so we could talk. He bluntly accepted. We didn't really get to talk though, because as soon as he pulled up in his car, he started yelling at me on the driveway. Turns out, my prank messed things up more than I realized. After I left the wedding reception with my tail between my legs, they got into some kind of argument and didn't even go on their honeymoon, for which he blames me. He is still maintaining I took a dump on a cake. And the reason is something that a lot of people here realized that my naive 9-year-old self didn't. He did shat in my cookies. I obviously didn't get the specifics mid-argument, but it came out that's what he did. I didn't know how, as it was a glass jar, so you'd have seen if someone parked a turd on top. I can only assume he smeared it along the bottom as some type of paste, so people would think it was just chocolate oozing out. When I vomited in the box, he got away with blaming it on a stale fart. He thinks I figured it out and did the same in the cake as revenge. I tried defending myself here. In fact, some of your responses helped. How would I do this? Is the baker in on it with me? Did I pull off some elaborate ruse to get access to the fully formed cake to defecate in it? He wasn't having any of it though. He says he knows I did do it and he's going to get the cake forensically tested to prove it. He's even threatening legal action. Eventually, my wife had to intervene at the shouting match on our doorstep, as he was getting increasingly aggressive and she was worried he may get violent. She got rid of him and I just went back inside to try and process it all. I got in touch with his wife a few hours later, as people's responses made me realize that even though my brother may be an a-hole, her big day was definitely soiled by my actions and that wasn't fair. Thankfully, she seems a lot more forgiving than him. We spoke on the phone for a while and she knew the truth about the cookies, turd, not farts, which is why she believed him when he said I did it with a cake. But as they argued through the night, she realized that I was innocent. I didn't want to pry, but it sounded like there had been relationship problems in the lead up to the marriage anyway, and his overreaction was just a tipping point. She's moved out and is staying with her parents now, and I suppose my brother finds it easier to pin the blame for their problems on me than reflect on his own behavior. I brought up my brother's claim about testing the cake, and she actually laughed, which reassured me that he's the only one thinking about such desperate measures. In conclusion, I may have been ruled not the a-hole, but my actions have ruined a marriage. She's moving out, my brother is lawyering up. They're getting an annulment, and I may or may not receive a subpoena asking me to poo in a box. But who defecates in their brother's birthday present? Psychopaths do. And gleefully retells the story over and over and over again. If I was his fiancé and watched him take such delight in retelling the story, I would have been disgusted and run for the hills. This is karma. I could kind of see it being something stupid that a child would do, but then come to regret it. But to keep happily telling it and never realize that it's something to be ashamed of? What an a-hole. Yep. When I was 5 or so, I was taking a bath with my slightly older sister. We would take turns being the one to stand straddling the tub while the other did a slide down the sloped part. She was the clown of the family and always got the laughs. So I thought I'd try to do something funny, and with great effort, I managed to pee on her as she slid down. She did not think it was funny. I was immediately ashamed. And for the life of me, to this day, I cannot figure out why I thought it would be amusing. The autism was strong in me even then, but man. Ever notice how much pranksters hate getting pranked? Almost like they've known it's bullying all along. My brother pranked me many moons ago, and I told him revenge is a dish best served cold. Anytime he visits, and I will hand him a cold beer or something cold to eat and just say, here's your cold beer or cold food. He hesitates. Last visit I did it again, and he finally said, when the heck will you be serving your revenge? I replied with, I have been doing it for years. Each time you hesitate before drinking or eating anything cold I hand you,